I wanted to have a conversation today about happiness.
It was a little weird because you always feel like when someone asks you if you're happy, you know something like, would you know I know, like, is there, it always comes off as like
Do
there's
you see
something
something?
negative
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah.
D'Angelo,
No,
are
no,
you
no,
happy?
no, no. See, and that's people just do that too. So like, his answer was yes, he's a happy person. We asked him if he was a happy person. We asked you, are you happy? He said, yeah.
In
okay.
this moment, are
He
you
clarified.
happy?
Look to your spouse, your husband, your wife, your kids. Look to your loved ones. Look to your friends. Just ask them the question, man. Are you happy? I promise you, it's going to be like an uncomfortable, maybe 2 or 3 seconds at first. But once you get past that, like push that question on them and try to get a genuine answer. Because I think the more we start to talk about it, the more people are even going to realize, man, am I really happy, right? They start to think about it. And I think that starts the journey for them to want to define happiness for themselves. It's also important that we begin to define happiness for ourselves and really determine whether it's something that's internal that's driving our happiness, something that's external that's driving our happiness, or something in our environment. Maybe we need to change something. Maybe we need to add something. Maybe we need to remove something. But we need to determine what happiness is for us. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the new episode of the Myles High Podcast. This is Myles Jr. I'm your host. And as always, the goal and vision of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist, always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right, so crew is here. Everyone's here. The wife is here. Babe, how you doing?
I'm good.
She's good. She's doing good. I'm doing good. Feeling good this week. Hope you guys are feeling good out there. I wanted to have a conversation today about happiness, right? And I know that's could be a cliche thing to speak about, a nonchalant thing to speak about, but I think it's super important. You know, in one of our earlier episodes, one of the first couple episodes I think that I did, I mentioned that there was a time where my wife and I had gone out to eat, and our waitress, the lady who was serving us at this particular restaurant, during one of her passings to us to check on us, she asked us a very odd question. She asked, "Are you guys happy?" Right? And I said at the time, I don't know if the wife and I were talking because we're not like big talkers or whatever. Like, we have conversations, but we like super good, like no issues or anything. Like, there are moments in our day, like when we're together, where we don't say much to each other.
Especially if we eating.
Especially if we eating food, especially if she's eating. If she's eating, she's focused on food or whatnot. So at this particular, but we were talking that day at the table, but this particular moment, our waitress walked past and she asked us if we were happy, and like that was one of the first times I was like thrown for a response. I've never been asked a question. I've never been asked it in that way or in that type of setting before, and it just seemed odd to me. And like Sharice and I laugh about it now, but it's really something that struck a nerve for both of us. And honestly, from that day forward, like, it's something that we're always asking each other, even if we're joking about the way that we ask or when we ask. Like, there is some truth or seriousness behind it, because like we both agree and truly feel that happiness is important, and happiness in everything that you do. And I know Sharice, just recently we had a conversation, and she was telling me she was out and someone kind of similarly ask her a similar question. Baby, you want to share that?
Yeah, I was at a funeral, and I hadn't seen one of my aunts in a very long time. And as I was leaving, she wanted to have a conversation. I was like, okay, cool. And one of the questions she asked me about life and marriage, she was like, "Are you happy?" And like, it was a little weird because you always feel like when someone asks you if you're happy, you know something like, would you know I know, like, is there, it always comes off as like there's
see
something negative
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah.
But truly, she really wanted to know, are you happy? You know, you're married now, things are different. I'm just making sure you're okay and you're happy. And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I'm really happy. And it just reminds me that, well, that was the second time anyone has ever asked me that besides the waitress. And I feel like we should be asking people, are you happy? It's a valid question, and not asking them if they're happy because we know that there's something wrong, but just because I think it's a genuine question to ask people.
Yeah, because sometimes like you would ask someone like
You okay?
you happy? Like, are you good? Everything good with you? And they'd just be like, yes, right? Give you the obvious answer and say, yeah, I'm good. But I think it's important for us to like truly check up on our friends, on our family members, our loved ones, and just be like, yo, you happy? Like, you happy doing what you're doing? And be ready for them to say, no, I ain't happy, right? Because that's a conversation that you definitely will have to have at that point.
But I also think that some people, because you're not asked this a lot, I don't think people realize if they're even happy or not.
Yeah. People. I don't think people really understand, or maybe even comprehend, like what true happiness is, right? Yeah. And I think that segues us into like where I want to start this conversation, right? So I'm asking the question, like, what is happiness? What is this contentment that we should feel or could feel in our day-to-day life, right? Is it fleeting pleasures? Does it have a deeper meaning? Does it differ between cultures? Does it differ between countries? Does it differ between ethnicities? And I think all of the above is yes. Happiness is what you. I feel like happiness is what you make it. Just like in a few episodes ago, we were talking about the definition or being able to define success. I think the same way we define success, we define happiness. What makes you happy? What is it that truly makes you happy? Whether it's an internal belief, whether it's a goal that you're striving for and you've accomplished, whether it's a vision that you have, a dream that you have for your life and you're working towards that. Like, I think we need to really understand that happiness is internal. Happiness is about self, right? Happiness is about something that we all have to discover and determine for ourselves. Go ahead, babe.
I think we would be doing a disservice if we didn't ask the people in this room if they were happy. So, Laurent, are you happy? Yeah. Are you happy? D'Angelo, are you happy?
No. See, and that's people is do that too. So, like, his answer was yes, he's a happy person. We asked him if he was a happy person. We asked you, are you happy? He said, yeah.
In this moment, are you happy?
Yes, everyone else in the room, you guys happy? Yeah. See, you've been happier.
I think Eric need to be on the couch.
That's an honest statement. Why aren't you as happy as you've been?
I mean, just like physically right now, I want to be physically.
So physically, you're not where you want to be. Got you. So you tired. You need some rest. You need a vacation. You need a vacation. Nah. So and I think that needs to be something that we do on a customary basis. Like I said, Sharice and I, we ask each other from time to time, like, are you happy? And I think it's important. And I think it's also important that we begin to define happiness for ourselves and really determine whether it's something that's internal that's driving our happiness, something that's external that's driving our happiness, or something in our environment. Maybe we need to change something. Maybe we need to add something. Maybe we need to remove something. But we need to determine what happiness is for us, right? And there are three characteristics, I would say, or three levels to happiness, right? That I wanted to discuss. At least these are like how I view happiness from a personal standpoint, right? And I always kind of determine it from different aspects, right, of life, right? So the first is it's a mindset, right? Happiness is a mindset. Happiness comes from how you view life, how you view yourself, how you view the situations that you're in. My dad had this quote that is my favorite quote of all time, and it's nothing changes until your mind changes, right? So if you're always saying or thinking stuff that come from a negative place, right? And you're always looking at the glass being half empty instead of half full, or you're not being as positive as you probably should or could be. You're almost never are going to be happy, or never going to be content with where you are, right? Because happiness is about feeling a sense of gratitude, right? Gratefulness, thankfulness for even being here, being alive, right? Being present amongst the living. Happiness is being optimistic regardless of the situations that we're in, just trying to find the silver lining, trying to find the lesson, trying to find the positive things out of everything that we are going through in life. And then it's about resilience, right? We spoke about this a few parts ago, just building that resiliency in each and every one of us, knowing that we are going to go through different situations. Some we can prepare for, some we can expect, and then some that come out of nowhere, right? And it's about us trying to be as prepared as we can for these different things that happen to us, right? Because one of the things that I will always remind everyone about is like there are certain things in this world that we can control, and other things that we can't. And we could only focus on the things that we can control. So just having a sense of gratitude, having a sense of positivity and optimism, and then trying to be resilient in everything that we do. I think it's important for us to just use that and have that type of mindset when we're defining what contentment looks like, what happiness looks like for us, right? And then the second aspect of it is our relationships and our connections. I think all of us, like when we're young, when we're growing up, we all start off with like a boatload of friends, right? Or people that we would consider friends, right? We have friends from daycare, preschool, kindergarten. We have friends up to elementary school, through high school, friends through college. And then, for some reason, around college time, graduation, getting into like the working population or your work life, professional life, friends start to dwindle, right? Or our circle starts to dwindle, and we start to realize or start to, genuinely have fewer friends, right? Where we have like maybe a handful of people that we would consider our true friends. And I think that's just how life goes, right? Because as we grow, as we mature, we start to realize that, these relationships and connections are all about authenticity, right? How authentic of a friendship or of an individual can we find that we can truly know that they are who they say that they are. And, when it comes to the friendship or even the relationship, right? Finding those special relationships that we get into, and just finding the authentic expression of true friendship, right? True relationship. Because, I think, when we are younger, it's all about trying to please and appease others, right? Trying to please everyone, trying to be a part of the cool kids, be a part of the in crowd. So you're like doing things that you genuinely, truly may not even like doing, right? Or feel like doing, but you're doing it because, it's what society dictates that we should do, in social circles. It's what we've been learning over the years as we've been growing and developing, that, hey, everyone else is doing it, so I might as well, right? And, I think the sooner or the earlier we can get to this point in life where we're only chasing authenticity within ourselves, and authenticity with others around us, right? Just finding those true individuals, because you're gonna have like friends or people that we call friends, mainly associates, right? But people that we call friends who don't really express their authentic ways and have our true interests or best interests at heart, right? It's all about self-motivation. It's all about what they can get out of the relationships, and that's what they're focusing on. So just being able to find those authentic friendships, and then figure out how to build strong relationships, as you grow, as you develop, whether that's personal relationships like my wife and I, or, just general friendships, or business relationships, or, professional relationships. All of these ways that we can genuinely build friendships and connections that serve us in the way that we need to be served as individuals. And I think the more genuine individuals we have around us, the more free and honest we can be about ourselves and then be comfortable with those around us. Genuinely, it's the more happier that we can be. You know, if we have to put up a facade and be fake about it, and build this wall up and not be as open as we may want to be, it becomes difficult to even find happiness, right? It becomes difficult sometimes even to fake happiness because we aren't being our authentic and genuine self. So relationships and connections plays a big part in being able to be as happy and as content as we want to be in life. So I think as we continue to consider, you know, defining happiness, we do need to look into the relationships and the connections that we have to ensure that we're building them in a positive way. And then the third point is finding a sense of purpose. Man, I can't tell you all how important it is to really discover not only who you are, but why you are. What's the reason you're here? I think, you know, finding a sense of purpose, it forces us to tap into our source, right? And, you know, that's the creator, the person that brought us here, breathed life into us, and put us here for a particular reason. And I think it's the journey of life for us to find what that reason is, right? And that search or that journey begins from within. It's an internal discovery that we have to figure out. Because, you know, and when I talk about finding purpose, right, you're going to see like a lot of people sometimes like that we see that we determine or we identify as successful, right? And I think we automatically equate success with happiness. And I think, you know, nothing can be further from the truth, because there are a lot of successful people out there. And when I say successful, I'm talking about like what society has defined success as, right? So that's gaining wealth, gaining attention, gaining celebrity, gaining access to different things, building a network, all of these things that we have, that society has defined success for us as. You know, we sometimes look at these individuals and they appear to be happy, right? They appear to be very content in their success. And most of the times, they are the most messed up persons, right? And a lot of it has to do with a lack of purpose or a lack of knowing what their purpose is. And I truly believe that, you know, we are our most happiest, or we are in the most happiest place that we can be when we're living in our purpose, when we're serving our purpose. You know, you find anyone that's living what they feel is their purpose in life, they're the most happiest individuals that you will ever meet, right? Whether they don't have to be the richest person, they don't have to be the smartest person, they don't have to be the person that looks like what you or society would define as happiness, but they are super content in like what they're doing because they're serving their gift to the world. And I think, you know, in truly defining or discovering our true happiness as individuals, it's important for us to determine and discover what our purpose is. So finding purpose is super important in this process of defining happiness. And I think it's something that we should all strive to do.
I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but I think we also have to, you know, reiterate that you're not going to be happy 24/7. There are moments, but then the goal should always be to get back to happiness.
I don't think we're going to be anything in life 24/7, right? We aren't going to be motivated. We're not going to be happy. We're not going to be positive. Like we all we're human beings, right? First of all. So we go through a variety of emotions on a daily basis. I think it's on us to be aware and conscious of these different emotions that we go through. And if you wake up one day and you ain't feeling happy, or you're not feeling motivated, or you're not feeling the best, accept it. Like it's what it is, right? Just figure out, you know, what I need to do. Like, do I need to take some time off? Do I need to go harder, right? And just push forward? Or do I just need to kind of rethink, refocus, and shift, right? Shift what it is that I'm doing, shift the strategies that I'm putting in place. And, you know, understanding that we're not always going to be the brightest and bubbliest person every day. Like that's unrealistic. And I think it's important for us to ensure that even when those days surface, that we are understanding that it's just for a time period, right? It's like seasons. It's like winter, summer, spring, fall. Like we all experience these different weather seasons throughout the year. But we know that, at some point, 2, 3 months, 4 months is going to go by and the season is going to change. And that's kind of how it works for us, right? It may not take 4 months, right? It could take a day, it could take 4 hours, it could take 4 days, it could take 4 weeks. But whatever that time period is, just know that whatever that is you're feeling, it's not going to last, right? And if you're in that season of your life where you're just not happy, you're not content with where you are, well, push through it, right? Pull yourself through those times and focus on, what I was talking about just now. Just focus on purpose, like that purpose journey that you're on, finding and discovering and living purpose on purpose. And I think, when we're not feeling our best selves, like purpose pulls us through, right? Because, being able to put a smile on someone else's face or transplant our desires, our skills, our gift into the world, that truly, there's no way that you're not going to be happy once that happens. And as you continue to do that, you're definitely going to find you're happy again. And then, happiness is a choice 100% of the time. Like, our life, as we move through it, the way that we feel, the choices, the decisions that we make, the determinations that we go through in life, like everything is a choice. Like you choose whether you want to be happy or not to be happy. And it's as simple as that, right? I don't support, this relationship, but, Will and Jada Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, we respect her, had a sit down one day and they were talking, and this is around the time where they was going through some craziness in their relationship, right? I think we all have seen or caught a wind of like the craziness that is their marriage. But Will in particular said something about him thinking that he had to be the one to make his wife happy, and it was making him miserable, right? Because he felt like, man, in order to make you happy, I have to do the things that that doesn't make me happy, right? Or that I'm not comfortable with, or that I just don't really like doing. And his focus, like earlier on in their marriage, was I want to make sure my wife is happy. And I think it's important for us to know that we have to own our own happy, right? There's no one else in the world, whether it's our parents, our siblings, our spouses, girlfriends, boyfriends. There's no one else in the world that's going to make you happy, right? My dad used to tell me something, he used to say something all the time, right? If you could look at your wife or your loved one or your husband and, you ask them, man, why do you love me? And they say, well, I love you because whatever coming up after that because is a condition they're placing on their love. And once that condition is removed, the love is gone, right? So if I'm looking at my wife and she's asking me, why do I love her? And I say, man, I love you because you say she's cooked good. I love because you prepare lovely meals, right? So that's a condition that we're placing on it. And if she one day, doesn't prepare a lovely meal, then am I not going to love her, right? So I think it's on us to say, man, I'm happy. I love my wife. I'm happy in this relationship that I'm in. I'm happy in this space of life that I'm in because I choose to be happy, right? I'm figuring out and discovering my own happiness. Whether my wife makes a good meal or not, like I'm going to be happy about it because, I have something to eat, or I can fix a meal for myself if I don't like what she's making. Like, I have to.
You ain't eating that. Don't do that.
So I have to eat what you're cooking.
No, you ain't gonna eat that.
Oh man, but it's important for us to own our own happiness. Be responsible for your own happiness, and I can't reiterate this more. Our happiness can't be found in someone else. Especially in relationships, right? Growing up, developing as teenagers and young adults, like we think that we need to find someone to complete us or to make us happy or to make us whole, right? And hopefully, there's a young person out there listening to this now, and you're going to understand and grasp the principle of owning your happiness. You have to own happiness for yourself, and you can't look to someone else for it. You have to determine what it is for you. And I think the quicker and as soon as we can do that, the happier we'll all be, and the happier the world around us will be, right? Because we're just, our mindset, right? Going back to mindset, our outlook on life is just different, right? We're looking at everything from a positive perspective. Now, like Cherie said, that you're not going to be positive all the time. You're not going to feel that way all the time. And that's okay. We all go through that. We all feel these periods in life where we're just like, we don't feel like it, right? Eric said earlier in the pod, like he's felt better. He's felt happier, right? But he knows that, man, I got to figure out how I could get back to that point, how I can get back to, the happier times that I've been feeling. And it's a journey, right? It's a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey of understanding like who we are and what makes us tick, right? What allows us to push through or pull through, those times where we may not feeling like our best selves. So why do I discuss this? Why do I want to have these conversations, right? Because, a lot of, I see people talk about and, leave comments and they suggest like, man, you need to like talk about the kingdom and teach the kingdom the way that your dad did and speak about that. And I'm like, I agree with you. Like, teaching these kingdom principles and life principles is what I call them, is super important, right? But there's more to it. I feel like we get the theory learning, these theology that we get, the lessons that we learn, but we need to understand like how to apply them and make them more practical in our daily living, right? Because going to church on whatever day that it is that you attend, right? Whether it's Sunday, Saturday, Wednesday, like whatever that day is for you, there's still 6 other days in the week that you have to live. And if you're just going to church and going through the motions, then it doesn't make sense. It's not going to help you. It's not going to uplift you. It's not going to cause you to develop your spiritual mind, your physical mind, your professional mind, because it's about like really comprehending and understanding what you're hearing in these services, and then being able to apply them to your daily life. So it's about the theory versus the practice, right? And I'm a very practical person. I love, like, you could give me a theory or a principle, but also let me know like how I can apply it. And that's why I have these conversations, right? I'm truly a faith-based person. I believe in principles. I believe in life principles. I'm founded on the kingdom teaching, but I am 100% focused on being able to articulate what needs to be shared from a principle standpoint, and how we not only could hear and know the message and know these principles, but be able to understand them and know how to apply them. And I think application is key, right? Application is what allows us to develop and move, right? And to grow as individuals. So being able to understand like what happiness is, why happiness is important, and why it's important for us to, have a particular mindset, right? And be aware of the relationships and connections that we're building, and then having a sense of purpose and finding a sense of purpose. I think it's important for us to really know and understand that the choice is ours. All the choices that we make in life, about being happy, about being successful, about what it is that we want to do in life. It's a choice, and the results that we get from it is based on the choices that we make, the decisions that we make. So I think as we continue to move and develop, just understanding that this principle of happiness is internal, and we should never look outwardly for being satisfied in life. That satisfaction should come from within. So just wanted to encourage everyone out there with that message. I think that, again, we should be concerned about the happiness of our loved ones, right? So, I would encourage you to do what my wife and I do from time to time. Just, look to your spouse, your husband, your wife, your kids, look to your loved ones, look to your friends. Just ask them the question, man, are you happy? I promise you it's going to be like an uncomfortable maybe 2 or 3 seconds at first. But once you get past that, like push that question on them and try to get a genuine answer. Because I think the more we start to talk about it, the more people are even going to realize, man, am I really happy, right? They start to think about it. And I think that starts the journey for them to want to define happiness for themselves. Okay? So we've reached a point in the podcast now where I get to leave with you a milestone. And today's milestone is a quote from my dad. And it says, our life is the sum total of the choices that we make, right? And those choices are determined by our priorities. So I think it's important that we prioritize ourselves, prioritize growth, prioritize development, prioritize owning your happiness, right? Because, the sum total of what life is the results of the choices that we make. So let's try to make the best choices for ourselves, right? The choices that we're not considering someone else, we're not considering others, we're putting ourselves first, right? Be selfish. It's okay to be selfish. It's okay to think about yourself first, because it is going to be impossible for you to share happiness with someone if you're not completely happy. So I think the focus should be on us to determine and develop our individual selves so that we can make the best choices in life, so that we can live the best life that we have to live. All right. So that brings us to the end of this episode. I just want everyone to be happy, man. I want you to be content and love what it is that you do, right? Whether it's your job, whether it's your relationships that you're in, or whether it's just your outlook on life. I want all of us to be at a place where we're happy and content with where we are, regardless of what anyone says, regardless of if it makes someone else feels uncomfortable. As long as you're comfortable doing it, continue to do it, all right? Because your happiness is important. As always, the vision and goal of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist, always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right? Until next time, you guys stay blessed.